Okay, so in the opinion, you're going to get the background of the parties. Appellant, that's the person making the appeal, is Griswold is the executive director of Planned Parenthood in Connecticut. They gave advice to married persons. Notice that the court emphasizes these are married people. That means the court's going to do something with that. And then they start to say, okay, the court says, what are the laws that can help us decide how to decide this case? So they're looking to all these statutes. These are the statutes that supposedly Griswold violated. Any person, Connecticut statutes, any person who uses a drug, medicinal article, or instrument for the purposes of preventing consumption shall be fined and imprisoned. And then the second statute is any person who assists basically somebody in committing a crime should be punished as if they were the criminal. So they're using these two statutes to say, A, Griswold did something illegal in telling these people to use contraception. B, Griswold herself or himself didn't use, I think it's a her, Griswold didn't use contraception, but because she advised someone to use contraception, she's guilty. Because this statute says if you advise someone to commit a crime, you're as guilty as the person who committed it. So then the judge is going to consider something called standing, which basically is, does this person have the right to raise this issue in court? There are all kinds of rules about standing. They find that they do, so they can go on. They use these different cases to talk about why they think they have standing. They go to the merits of the case, which means they're going to go to the case itself, not questions of, say, standing. And they're talking about these different cases that might bear on this one. But what they really decide is that this is about privacy. The association of people is not mentioned in the Constitution or the Bill of Rights. The right to educate a child, however, is a right to privacy. So what they're basically saying is the First Amendment might not say that there's a right to privacy, but it's been interpreted as having a right to privacy. So one of the things that the court says is that the right to privacy is something that comes from all these other interpretations. That there's, a right to not have people quartered in your house. There's a right to not have unreasonable searches and seizures. And all of these have come to form, right to free speech, all of these have come to constitute a kind of right to privacy that's really important. Freedom of association, right to assemble, and so this is an important thing right here. So all of these cases that have created this sense of privacy in the Bill of Rights, these cases may not come right out and say you have a right to privacy, but they have what the court calls penumbras and emanations. A penumbra, you might remember from science, it's the sort of light. It's not the actual sun, it's the sort of light surrounding the sun, right? So a penumbra is something that's cast outside of the thing itself, but is also part of it. So a law might have a penumbra. It might have rays that come out of it. It might have things that emanate from it, or come out of it. And so this language of penumbras and emanations is by now a standard way of talking about a right that emerges from, say, a law or a constitutional point. So there are guarantees in the Bill of Rights that have penumbras. So the right to free speech might have a penumbra that basically means we've created a right to privacy. The right to assemble, the prohibition of against quartering soldiers in a house is because there should be privacy in that house, right? The Third Amendment doesn't say you have a right to privacy in your house, but it does say you don't have to have soldiers quartered there. So the thing that emanates from that is a right to privacy. You don't have to be subject to searches and seizures, unreasonable searches and seizures, the Fourth Amendment. That means your house has a right to privacy. So the right to privacy comes from these other things, is what they're saying.